Hi, I'm Alticate and I'm going to teach you how to play StarCraft 2. If you're still wondering what StarCraft is, I highly recommend that you take a look at my first video by clicking the link shown at the bottom of the screen. You will also find a link in the description. This second video will introduce the StarCraft 2 interface, through which you control the game. For the purposes of this video, I will assume that you've never played a real-time strategy game before. Many of the concepts introduced here will be only briefly touched upon. Later episodes will focus in great detail on each individual aspect of StarCraft 2, such as units, structures, and economy. What I've done here is start up a StarCraft 2 match. In this case, a head-to-head match versus the computer. This is what we see when the match starts. At any given time, the game camera is centered on a small area of the map. This is our starting position. Remember that your opponent has his own game camera and cannot see what you see. This large structure in the middle of the screen is your command center. This is the centerpiece of the Terran base. Let me show you real quick what the Protoss Nexus and the Zerg Hatchery look like. These three structures fill the same role, and you should think of them as the center point of your base. You'll notice that there are units moving across the screen. These are your workers. The Terran worker is called SCV. It means Space Construction Vehicle, but you don't have to remember that. The Protoss worker is called a probe, and the Zerg worker is called a drone. Right now, your SCVs are moving back and forth between the command center and these blue crystals, gathering minerals. Minerals are one of the two resources you use to create your army. Only workers can gather resources, and they must return the resources to a command center, which is why this structure is so crucial. Once a worker has been instructed to gather resources, it'll keep doing so until you issue another order. Take a look at the top right of your screen. You'll find three icons with numbers next to them. You'll want to get used to keeping an eye on these numbers very frequently during a match. The number next to the first icon shows you how many minerals you've gathered. If you look at this number, you'll notice that every time a worker returns to the command center carrying minerals, this number increases. The second icon shows how much gas you've gathered. Vespene gas is the second resource you need to create your army. The gas is mined from Vespene geysers, which you'll always find right next to the minerals. However, unlike minerals, before you can mine from a geyser, you first need to build a special structure on top of it. Finally, the third icon represents your supply. Your current supply acts as a limit to the number of units you can have at the same time. When you start training a unit, you use up some supply. When a unit dies, that supply is returned. The first number shows how much supply you're using, while the second number shows how much supply you have. If you're using all of your supply, you cannot train any more units. To increase your supply, the Terrans build a structure called a supply depot. The Protoss also build a structure called a pylon. The Zerg, however, get their supply from a unit, the Overlord. Your main tool in controlling StarCraft is your mouse. If you move your mouse cursor over a unit or structure, you'll find that the cursor turns into a green crosshair. This means that this unit or structure can be selected. To select a unit, click the left mouse button. Once a unit or structure is selected, a green circle lights up around it. This is how you tell what units or structures you're currently controlling. The nature of StarCraft is that you cannot control everything at once. You must prioritize and multitask. At the bottom of the screen, there are two panels that display information and options related to the unit or structure you're currently controlling. Let's put it to use. The first thing you want to do when you get into a StarCraft 2 match is to select your command center and begin training more workers. You'll find this option in the bottom right panel, which displays the possible orders you can issue to the structure. Each unit and structure has its own unique set of orders, and each order has a hotkey or keyboard shortcut associated with it. If you hover your mouse over an icon, you'll see a tooltip with basic information about the order, including what hotkey is used to issue it. In this case, it's the S key. This order is used to train an SCV, the Terran worker. If you hit the S key on your keyboard while you have the command center selected, you will begin training an SCV. You can use the mouse to issue these orders by moving your mouse cursor over the icon and clicking the left mouse button. But do yourself a favor and learn to use hotkeys as soon as possible. In a StarCraft II match, you always want to use hotkeys to issue orders. This allows you to carry out orders faster and to avoid distractions, so you can keep your eyes focused on the action. When you begin trading an SCV, the cost of the unit is immediately deducted from your minerals. A timer then appears in the information panel showing how the trading process is progressing. Once the timer expires, the SCV is finished and appears from the command center. While you have a unit selected, you can issue orders to the unit. The unit you've selected will remain where it is and continue doing what it's been doing until you issue a new order. Most orders have a target. To issue a new order, move your mouse cursor over your target and click the right mouse button. Depending on what you've targeted, your unit will perform the most suitable action. If you click the ground, your unit will move to that point on the map by the most direct route it can find. If you clicked an enemy unit, your unit will pursue and attack the enemy unit. If you click a friendly unit, your unit will follow that unit. Again, your unit will continue to carry out its last given order until it is no longer possible to carry out that order, or until you issue a new order. Let's talk about the game camera again. At any given time, your main view is displaying only a fraction of the map you're playing on. In the bottom left of your screen, you'll find an invaluable tool, the minimap. The minimap is basically a map that shows you the entire game board in miniature. You can see the terrain, the units and structures on the map, and other important features such as the location of resources. The area the game camera is currently fixed on is outlined in a white border in the form of a trapezoid. So a few things about the minimap. First of all, you can see that there is a big green square and several smaller green squares moving through the area outlined by the game camera. The minimap shows all units and structures that you control on the map. It will also show your enemy's units, but only when you have vision of them. Your units need to be nearby in order to see the enemy's units. Otherwise, their presence on the map will be hidden. Likewise, your opponent needs to send scouting units in order to find your location and see what you're up to. You will need to see other parts of the map aside from your starting location. To do so, either move your mouse cursor so that it's pushing against the edge of the screen. Your view will then scroll in that direction. Or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to scroll the camera in a given direction, and I highly recommend this method over using the mouse. The other way to move the camera is to position your mouse cursor over a location on the minimap and click the left mouse button. Wherever you click, the camera will center on that location. That's it for now. The next episode will be an in-depth explanation of how units work and how you control them.